Let's pretend you and I went to catch up at a cafe and you turned to me and said, Nate, what do I need to do to plan for success with my channel this year, really? I'd get a smile on my face and say, focus. You need to focus like crazy or you'll be lost on this platform. Focus! Or something like that. Howdy everyone, Nate here. Welcome back. By the end of this video, I want you to be solid on your focus in these areas so that by the end of watching this video, you know exactly what to do to have a solid, successful YouTube plan this year. And this comes from working directly with hundreds of YouTube creators, including a high-level cohort that I just wrapped up as of recording this. Number one, we're going to want to set your focus for the year. And in order to assist you in accomplishing this process as we walk through it throughout this video, I updated my YouTube template. You're going to want to get that with the link in the pinned comment or description on this video because yes, I am still offering it for free. As valuable as it is, I felt like it was something I wanted to have zero barrier for you as you're planning your years. So go ahead and get that updated template and follow along as I walk you through this. Let's talk setting your focus. Let's focus. Oh, yeah. So if you're following along with the template, first thing you'll see this handy dashboard that I want you to customize according to whatever you need, upcoming videos, plans you have, as well as bookmarks and important resources here. But what we're gonna do is go over here to the sidebar to focus. Surprise, surprise. Start here. Over here, your focus and brand. YouTube is evolving, and I am seeing the creators and the founders that focus more on their specialties and understanding their audience and bringing the two together being the most important thing you can do to be successful this year. So that's why each of these items is focused on focusing. Two questions. First thing I want you to do as you're setting your focus is answer these two questions. Number one, what do you want from your audience? And what do you want for your audience? This question feels simpler on the surface than you may realize. You put yourself in the situation where you understand your audience and you understand clearly what you want your audience to get out of your content. A focused answer to this question could look like, I want my audience to know exactly how to get a green lawn at any time of year. Or I want my audience to come to every one of my videos because they feel comforted and welcome as I'm doing some homemade cooking. I want you to describe the answer to this question as vividly as you can. Followed up with the answer to this question. What results do you want this year? This could be revenue, lifestyle. What do you want to change for you? Again, use first-person language and describe it as vividly as you possibly can. Once we got that, it's time to get more into the brand side of what you are bringing to the YouTube platform. That looks like defining your brand yeses and your brand no's. And that is no's as in N-O-E-S, not N-O-S-E. Subtle difference in spelling, big difference in definition. So I gave an example here of what I would write for this channel that you're watching right now. I laugh because this is actually my definitions, and it's only had slight changes over the past year from when I first presented this template, which tells me it was pretty effective. So what I wrote as an example for this channel you're watching right now is radical, facing fear, standing out, and making a difference. Authentic, real people and real stories. High value, meaning it's actionable, people are getting results, and it's making people more wealthy. And then fun, meaning approachable and engaging. Now, for the brand no's, again, if you're watching the closed captions on this, I need to specify that this is N-O-E-S, not N-O-S-E. Check the closed captions. I'm curious if YouTube auto captioning actually captures that or not. But brand no's are essentially the opposite of your yeses. And this is where you say the things that you do not want your brand to stand for. I again give examples for this channel you're watching right now. Generic tips. Instead, I want to do real examples and real data. Or boring delivery. Instead, I want fun, fresh, and laughter. I want people to be enjoying the experience of spending time with me while they're learning. So now you've written answers to these things, time to move down to brand position. I'm going to make an entire dedicated video just on this thing due to popular demand. The amount of people I've had requesting that I make an entire video about this just one thing is a lot. We'll just say that. But for now, I want you to define your position of you related to your audience, meaning you're roughly going to position yourself in one of four categories: a hero, a performer, a teacher, or a commentator. And based on what you choose, that is what your audience expects out of your content. And I included an example also here in the template. The other thing we're going to want to do at this point is claim your online brand. You'll often hear when you start a new business or you start a new channel, hey, make sure you go claim your YouTube channel, your Instagram, your other socials. But what more people, more creators and founders need to be thinking about is the longer term. Are you going to offer something? Because if you are going to offer something, I'm going to highly recommend that you claim a .store domain or URL. And let me explain why that is. Most creators find that longer term, they want to monetize in more than one way. And most of the time, that monetization involves some sort of offer for their audience, be it merch, be it a product, be it some sort of service. So when you also claim your online brand of your channel or your business name .store, when your audience visits your channel or your business .store, they know that it's a store. It's literally built into the name. And therefore, they know that there's going to be things for sale. It's a massive advantage. The other crazy thing about having a .store versus a lot of other online products and merch stores is many of them have very complex URLs. You know what I'm talking about. And I think this is part of the reason why many larger creators and businesses are already claiming their .store domains, because they're seeing the value in the simplicity of it. So go and claim your .store domain using the link I also put in the pinned comment and the description on this video. And you know me, I got you an awesome deal. I got you a code. When you go to the website, search for your channel or your brand name. And then when you click through, I got you a code. I'm also going to include it below. That gives you a stinking good deal. Now I know I can't guarantee anything, but it's a very high likelihood that the moment you sell one thing with your .store, with your online brand, it will have paid for itself. So go claim it before somebody else does, dang it. Now it is time to move on to the next. You need to focus, gosh darn it. It's time to focus. Picking the content that you are bringing to your audience in the form of categories. Using the template, I want you to move to this section labeled Fire Mix. Now the Fire method is a method that I developed because I observed so many channels not understanding the right mix of content that will give them the results that they actually want. Excuse me. But when you're planning your year right now, what I want you to do is go up here to the fuel or content mix. Every type of video that you publish on your channel this year will fit into one of 4 categories or fuel types. I call them fuel types because the analogy is you're building a fire that attracts the audience you want to attract. And based on what type of category you're doing, that video will perform differently with your audience. So for example, on a campfire, Tinder is the type of content or fuel that catches fire quickly, but may also burn out quickly. It gets attention very quickly. So you're going in and for your audience, for your channel, the topic that you have on your content, you're gonna choose some broad categories that you're going to include as Tinder content for this coming year. Likewise, you're gonna choose some kindling, and these are more of the core content that you publish most likely the most often. There's a lot of nuance to this, but you're defining these types of categories that you're gonna publish. And then likewise with logs, these are the bigger or more evergreen types of videos. You'll also not want to skip over defining your flint videos. I used to call these spark videos until I realized, based on this recent cohort, a really good suggestion was flint is a better definition here because these are the types of videos that you're not necessarily sure will do well with your audience yet. It's more experimental. So while you're watching this video, you're following along with this template, I want you to pause and put some ideas into each of these categories. Don't expect yourself to be perfect or know exactly what category to put them in. Just use these concepts as clues and define your categories right now. Now here is why this matters so much this year. One of the major mistakes that I see creators making, and that can't be a mistake anymore, especially this year, is having too many categories that aren't focused enough, or being unintentional with the categories you do cover. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a language learning channel and the majority of your content is in teaching certain skills or conjugations or things that your audience wants to learn. If out of the blue you decide to do, let's say, some vlog videos in a totally different category, it's entirely possible that because that category is so far outside of the plan that you've put together right here, the audience will observe that and it may not perform as well. The point here is not that you can't test new categories. That's why I would put it under a flint category using the fire method. It's that far too often we're unintentional or unaware that we're causing this chaos. You see what I'm saying there? This is why I built this in right here, to help you get really clear and know this is what I am doing in categories, and this is what I'm not doing in categories. And this is also a good point to invite you to boop the like button on this video so it can spread to more people as a way to say, hey, this is being helpful to me. So thank you for doing that. Now it's time for the next. G'day, mate. It's time to focus. A pity the fool who don't focus. We're going to pick and qualify your video ideas for this year. In order to do that, you're going to go down to production right here in the template. The first thing you're going to see is a production list, but actually we're going to go to idea planning, C's. And what we're gonna do here, while you're watching this video, go in here to the idea input section and add a bunch of video ideas. You can hit add task here, or if you're on mobile, you can also do this. Add all of the video ideas that you've had knocking around in your brain or that you have written somewhere else. Add them all to this list right here because we're about to go through a process with them. One of the frustrations that I had as I was publishing videos, and I saw many clients also have this, was not necessarily having a good, solid, and simple way to qualify a video of whether or not I should give it the go-ahead or the green light. So what I did is I developed a method to qualify your videos very easily. I call it the C's method. And essentially, it's ranking your videos on 5 factors: spread, excitement, audience match, and simplicity. You rate each of these on 1 to 5. So let me show you what this looks like in practice. You go into Idea A here and you scroll over and you say, okay, based on roughly what I know of my audience, how much spread will this idea have? 1 being low and 5 being high. Let's say I think this idea is going to spread really well. I'm going to rate it a 5. And then I say, roughly, how excited am I to produce this video? You say, all right, maybe I'm 4 out of 5. And then you ask yourself, roughly, how well does this video match my current audience? According to my understanding of what they find satisfying, and I say, I think this one's still decent, but let's say it's a 3 here. And then I go to simplicity. I say, hey, you know what? This is a really good idea, but it's going to be a bit more complex to produce. A 5 would be very simple to produce, and a 1 would be very complex. Let's say this one is actually a very complex video. I would give it a 1. What that does is it outputs a C's score for me. And you're going for the higher the C score, the better. So you go through this with a batch of videos and you can qualify them in a few ways. Let's say the C score isn't high enough on idea B, and I can say, all right, I'm going to put this as potentially a future idea. It's not ready yet. Or maybe I say, hey, I've reviewed this video and I really don't think it's one I should produce. I can hit Idea Archive. We could delete it, but sometimes it's nice to be able to see, hey, we previously had this idea, but it just didn't fit, and here are the reasons why. It saves time for you and your team. But let's say Idea A gets a passing score, and I say, all right, we're gonna produce this. I go over here, and I move it to preparing. And once I do that, I can go over here to production list, and it will add it down here. I didn't actually add it because I already have some ideas in here. I think it's getting weird how many times we're saying that's enough focus. Now let's pause for a moment to talk about why this is such a good idea to qualify your videos this year. It saves time. It makes your workflow more efficient, whether you're running a solo gig or you have a whole team. Knowing clearly when a video gets added to the production list as a greenlit video saves you a ton of time because you've gone through the rounds. You understand, hey, this is a really good video idea. I'm going to go ahead and produce it. In fact, if you want an extra layer of qualifying your ideas before you produce them this year, I included this handy template right here, which has the name video code, video name. And within it, if you go down here, you can copy and paste and follow this entire process as you're producing your videos. Even before adding it to your production list, you can identify what the purpose is, the outcomes you hope to have happen, as well as potential title and thumbnails. In fact, I've been playing around with the idea of making an entire video about how to plan effective YouTube videos and all the steps I'd be going through, both from the planning standpoint, but also from the actions from your audience standpoint. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video like that. And as you're planning out your year here, you really could go through, add ideas, qualify them, and then add them to production right now. You could have the entire amount of videos, depending on what your channel niche is, you could have your entire year of videos planned right now if you follow this process. There are 2 approaches that I've seen work well for creators: the batching approach or the cyclical approach. For the cyclical approach, it's the one that more people think of when they think of producing YouTube content. It usually looks like, hey, how often am I publishing? Let's say it's once a week. All of the steps that go into producing a video: ideation, qualifying the idea, outlining, scripting, research, all that, recording, thumbnail, edits, all of that. And it occurs on a cycle according to how often you publish. So once a week, you go through that same cycle. The alternate approach we could take here, and this template also works very well for this, is a batch approach, where you pick a certain amount of time that you want to batch at once. So let's say you publish, again, once a week, and you want to batch 4 videos at once. You go in and you batch the ideation, the planning, the scripting, the recording. You do that in segments and you're able to accomplish the same thing. Really depends on what fits you best. But as you're planning your videos, aside from these statuses of I'm preparing the video, when it's ready to record, I move it up to here. When I've recorded it, it moves into editing. And then when it's ready to publish, it moves right here. You'll also want to keep in mind a few key things here. The due date is the publish date of your video, and this will populate the calendar view up here. You also might want to keep track of edits due. If you're working working with an editor, thumbnails, both mockups and final product, a link to the video, as well as the format. If you're collaborating or being sponsored by a company or individual, you'll want to include that here. So once we've worked through that, we've got our entire plan worked out, potentially for the entire year right now. But what about some unique cases? I wanted to show you some additional resources I put in here to hopefully be helpful. I'm hoping they're helpful. I included a collaboration section for you to keep track of collaborations and outreach, as well as an affiliates and sponsors section for you to identify who you're in contact with and what the terms are of that affiliate or sponsorship deal you created. But also, if you go back to this focus document, I included this targets and timelines section here where you can write out your goals, the connections you want to make, as well as a rough timeline by quarter of what you want to accomplish, with emphasis, and this is important, on what you can control. We've got goals up here, like I want to hit 100K subscribers, or I want to make 10K a month. But down here on the timeline, these are the actions that will help you accomplish that. There's also this current resources section where I wish I knew about this earlier. The idea of this current resources section is to pull together all of the things that you use regularly, like your fonts, your colors, common assets, all of those things, and put it under the same place as an easy point of reference, both for you and the people that work for you. And below it, I included links to some helpful tools that I recommend, as well as some mindset stuff. You see, I spent a lot of time this year reading books. I set the goal to read or listen to 100 books this year. As of recording this, I don't think I'm quite going to make it. But among all of the books that I listened to this year, the ones that were not so good, there were some that really stood out, especially as creators and business owners, what you and I are doing here. Now, there's a possibility that as you're working your way through this process, you find yourself stuck. You are planning out your year, maybe you feel a bit disheartened or discouraged. The purpose of this video, the reason I made this video from me to you, was to help you focus this year and feel certain in yourself. And as a response to that, I will repeat the words that were so impactful for me several years ago. If you're ever feeling stuck, it's because you don't like any of the options that you are aware of. I'll say that again another way. If you feel stuck or frustrated, it's because you don't like any of the things, any of the possibilities, any of the paths that you're aware of right now. So what does that mean for you and I? It means we need to open our eyes, step back, and say, what other possibilities are there available to me? What are the things that might make me come alive more and feel more excited this year? And now, after watching this video, here's hoping you have a bit more. I don't know who you are, but I will find you and I will make you focus.